Okay, so you don't have a lot of money, you don't know a whole lot about cooking, you have no idea what you need to have in your kitchen. Well, that's what we're going to explain here, so let's get into it.
It's starting!
What's going on, everybody? Rob here with 12 Baskets Ministry. In this video, we're going to be going over some of the basic ingredients you're going to want in your kitchen so that you can start to cook at home, save money, become more independent. Okay, first up, very simple ingredient, very versatile. It's just simply going to be rice. There are a ton of different kinds that you can get, white rice or brown rice. You can get bags or boxes. Some take longer to cook, some are shorter. But all the directions for cooking them, you're going to find on the back of the package. Very easy to prepare and can be served with a ton of different kinds of meals. And that way you can start preparing food for yourself and your family at home. That way you don't have to either spend a ton of money going out to restaurants all the time or hoping that somebody else is going to be able to help you out. Okay, next up on the must-have ingredients list, kind of goes hand in hand with rice really, and it's going to be beans. Now just like with rice, and even more so with beans, there's a huge variety you can get. You can do either canned or bagged, it doesn't really matter, so long as you know how to prepare them. But once again, all of the directions for cooking them are going to be found right on the back of the package. And the good thing about dry beans is, despite what a lot of people think, you don't actually have to soak them overnight. Add a little bit of extra cooking time to whatever you're preparing, they should turn out just fine. Okay, so once you have those absolute must-haves out of the way so you can even start cooking on your own, we're going to move on to what's really going to be considered the bare minimum list of ingredients that you'll need. That way you're not going to get completely burnt out on food within the first week. And first up on this list is going to be oil. Now, of course, each different kind of oil is going to have some different properties. Some are going to be better used for baking or sauteing. They'll have different smoke points at different temperatures. But really, when it comes right down to it, when you're just starting off and you don't particularly know what you're doing in the kitchen, one fat is just as good as another. If you need 3 tablespoons of butter, but you don't have any butter, use 3 tablespoons of canola oil. If you need vegetable oil and you don't have any, use the same amount of olive oil. The same measurement for every fat is going to work just fine. And it might change the recipe a little bit, but it's not going to make that big of a difference. Okay, so you probably saw this one coming, flour. Obviously, a huge number of recipes, particularly if you're baking, are going to call for flour, whether you're making a bread or a dumpling, doing your own pasta, or just thickening a sauce. Flour is an extremely versatile ingredient that goes a long way and can help you eat a whole lot of different kinds of foods with a lot less effort than you might think. Okay, so if you're going to be doing any kind of baking with flour and you want something to rise a little bit, you're going to need a leavening agent. All a leavening agent is something that adds air to the dough as it cooks, so it helps it to rise and get nice and soft and fluffy. Now, the first go-to leavening agent that you're going to want is going to be baking powder. Now, there are some recipes that will call for baking soda, some will call for baking powder and baking soda. The reason that I have this one on the bare minimums list is because you can actually use baking powder as a replacement for baking soda. All you have to do is add 3 times the amount because baking soda is stronger, but baking powder is more versatile. Okay, next up on the bare minimum ingredients list, eggs. Just like a lot of the other stuff that we're going over today, eggs have a lot of different uses, which is why they're making this list. Whether you're adding these to a recipe or you're cooking these in one of 100 different ways to eat yourself, eggs are going to go a very long way in making sure that you can cook food at home and be sustained. Now, the question with this is, which eggs do I get? There are white eggs and brown eggs and blue eggs if you want. Which ones are the best? I'm going to let you in on another secret. It doesn't matter. The only difference in the color of the egg is the color of the chicken that laid it. White chickens lay white eggs, brown chickens lay brown eggs, and chickens that have either a blue or a red tint lay eggs that have either a blue or a red tint. A good tip to use for eggs. If you're cracking them open and a shell piece falls in, how do you get it out? You try picking it out, it slips away. You use a fork or a spoon, it slips away. Really simple trick. You take a larger piece of shell, scoop it in there to get that small piece out, it'll come out every time. The very first seasoning that you're going to want to have from your list is going to be salt. Salt preserves food, it adds flavor, goes a very long way, and actually might find it in some pretty surprising places when you start looking at some recipes. Now, once again, there are a huge number of varieties of salt. Pink Himalayan salt, sea salt, table salt. What do you get? There's coarse, there's fine. You want another secret? It doesn't matter. And yes, each different salt does have different properties and is best used for different things. But that's not what this is for. This is for people who are just starting off in the kitchen. I would probably go with just some regular table salt or iodized salt. So we have the absolute must-haves and the bare minimum list out of the way. So how do we take what we have here and expand it so that I can cook a larger variety of things, make them taste better, and that way I'm a little bit more prepared to actually be able to cook things on my own. Well, that's why we have just a simple list of ingredients that you're going to want to have to expand your cooking ability. And first up on that list is pepper. Now we've gone over the first seasoning that you want to have. The second seasoning is going to be pepper, especially if you're cooking meat or really any other protein type dish. You're going to want to add a fair amount of salt and pepper to enhance the flavor, make it so that you want to actually eat it more so you get some good nutrition. The cat came to say hi. She wants you to be able to cook too, don't you? We've gone over most of the other basic baking ingredients. Why not add milk to the list? So milk, again, is going to have a lot of different uses. Even if you don't like drinking it yourself, there are a huge number of recipes that call for either milk or cream. And in most cases, if it does call for cream, you can use milk instead. That'll change just a little bit if you're making something that has to have whipped cream in it. If you want to do it yourself, in that case, you do actually have to have cream. You're not going to be able to whip milk into peaks. It's every kid's favorite ingredient, sugar. What do you do when all you have is bland cereal and your kid refuses to eat it? Sprinkle a little bit of sugar on. What do you do when your coffee's too bitter? Add some sugar. How do you make any dessert? Sugar. Now, obviously, if you have some sort of dietary issue and you can't take sugar, you're going to want to find a replacement. If you do that, make sure that whichever replacement you find is a natural replacement. Do not use artificial sweeteners. They are so bad for you. There are a huge number of options as far as natural sweeteners. You can do monk fruit or stevia. You can do all sorts of different kinds of syrups or extracts or fruit or nectar. Huge varieties. Just make sure that whichever one you get is not an artificial sweetener. Okay, the next item on our list is going to be the simple potato. Yet again, we have an ingredient on the list that has a huge number of uses and can be applied in a lot of different ways. Russet potatoes, those are the larger brown ones, which are also the cheapest. Golden potatoes, which are the most expensive but the most flavorful. And then you have red potatoes. Now, while a red potato isn't as big as a russet potato or quite as flavorful as a golden potato, these are usually my go-to option. The reason for that is because with either russet potatoes or golden potatoes, if you cook them too long, they get kind of a grainy texture and it's not particularly pleasant to eat regardless of what you do with it. A red potato won't do that. No matter how long you cook it, so long as you're not burning it, it's going to keep the more pleasant texture that you're used to with the potato, and that way you're a lot more willing to eat it. Plus, it still has more flavor than a russet. Okay, so we have come to what amounts to about the epitome of an inexpensive and versatile food, pasta. I wouldn't even begin to want to try and count the different kinds of pastas that are available. Linguine, spaghetti, rotini, shells. There are just endless varieties of pasta, and they're extremely inexpensive. You can get whole grain, gluten-free, regular, just countless varieties of different kinds of pastas. And the easiest way to change it up is just to change up the kind of pasta, maybe the kind of sauce that you serve with it. Okay, so this ingredient is one that we've kind of gone over already, but I'm still going to put on this list, baking soda. Like I mentioned before, baking soda is a stronger leavening agent than baking powder, and there are some recipes that actually call for both. Plus, the good thing about baking soda is not only does it have a huge number of uses in the kitchen, it probably has even more uses for cleaning and deodorizing. Alright guys, so that's it. That's the whole list. Just some basic ingredients that you're going to want to have in your kitchen. That way you can start preparing meals on your own, be healthier, be more independent, and save a lot of money. Alright, real quick guys, click the like on this video so we can get this out to more people, and hit subscribe so that you can be notified when we put future videos out. Okay, so now that you've got all these ingredients available, what are you going to use to prepare them? For that, click this video where we go over some simple kitchen tools you're going to need. And that's it for this one. God bless, guys.